like I keep saying, the more of this that you put up with, the more of it that you're going to get. New Mexico governor shuts down grocery stores with new public health order, right? And this is as of November 24th. So the governor of New Mexico, as a result of certain individuals testing positive for the virus in grocery stores, after X amount of people test positive, then that grocery store must shut down for 2 weeks. As it goes on to say, it says a public health order from the governor's office shut down more than 25 essential businesses Monday, with 4 or more rapid responses of COVID-19 cases reported within a 14-day period. The order requires the business to close for 2 weeks. Any business that reports 4 or more positive COVID-19 tests in a 2-week period must then shut down for 2 weeks, whether they're essential or not. And so this comes as I think they've shut down quite a few of the Wal-Marts. And I believe that the only exemption is if that facility has like a pharmacy attached to it, which some of these stores might have a pharmacy attached to them. So the first question that comes to mind is, when I frequently have with these kinds of stories, is why was that number chosen as the shutdown standard? Setting the limit of 4 cases over a 2-week period doesn't make sense, especially in grocery stores. According to this, the average number of employees for an average sized grocery store is 72 full-time employees. The number set by this department seems to be arbitrary at best. Some of the stores closed by Grisham are the larger variety, like for example, Walmart. Just when questioned, the governor's office denied that people are standing in long lines to enter the grocery stores. And it's like most of these people who work there and who go there, like even me, I go to the local Gristetti's here in Manhattan, and everybody wears a mask. They're required to wear a mask. I've never seen anybody in the store without a mask, nor have I seen any of the employees walk around without a mask. So it always goes to show you, not necessarily very sensical in terms of, I mean, if you're wearing a mask, even if the person tests positive, it wouldn't matter. At least according to the CDC said, even if you test positive for COVID, you can still go out and vote, right? It's okay to wait in a long line to vote. We've had places with, I think it was in South Dakota, where you had a whole bunch of the nurses and hospital staff that were testing positive for COVID, but they said you still got to come to work, right? So no, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. I mean, even when I worked, at the beginning, or when I was when we were working during the peak, the hospital straightforwardly said, "We ain't gonna test you. If you got exposed, guess what? We're not gonna test you." And then the union had to get involved. Like, what do you mean you're not gonna test people? The hospital literally straight up and said, "We're not testing you. If you, I mean, shoot, I got exposed." And the hospital picks and chooses who they want to give time off. So, and they don't even tell you I got exposed. The only reason I found that was because I came back to work, and they were like, "Oh yeah, remember that patient so and so that you had that day? That person tested positive." But someone else will be like, "Okay, you can have off, but you can't have off." And I was like, "What?" I mean, that's how it originally started. Was the patient that I had in bed 2 contracted something from bed 1. They tested bed 2. They didn't test the guy in bed 1. Then they isolated bed 2, and then they threw him back in, and then they discharged him, and then they tested the guy in bed 1, and he tested positive. They never told me that person, I mean, I knew it. I knew that the guy had it. It was very obvious because my patient came in for a GI bleed and all of a sudden developed a respiratory, he developed a cough that the other guy had. The other guy had been coughing for quite some time, and I put a mask on him, and I told my patient, "You need to wear a mask." And then anyways, I tell you, man, and that's why I had brought up in my last video that, you know, when it comes to the third leading cause, right, the third leading cause of death in the United States, right, is medical errors, right? Medical errors. Third leading cause of death in the US, most doctors don't want you to know about, right? According to John Hopkins study, claims that more than 250,000 people in the US die every year from medical errors. Others report claim the numbers could be as high as 450,000, right? This is as of John Hopkins University, right? So Medical errors, doctor errors, kill more people currently than the coronavirus ever will, or I should say, currently have killed, according to you know the mainstream media. A lot of stupidity that goes around. People think that a lot of stupid people. Any of it. This is what you get. This is more of what you get when people don't take a stand. People will pick and choose what is essential in your life, such as the grocery stores, whether those grocery stores are going to be open, which of course will cause food shortages because now individuals will rush into other stores and will stock up thinking that perhaps who knows if that store will get shut down. And that causes food shortages in areas. It's very silly. Very silly. And the sad part is that a lot of this is nonsensical. I mean, the tests have a high fail rate, especially the tests that they're utilizing in like the grocery stores. I guarantee you that they're using the rapid test, and the rapid test has a high failure rate. If you remember, I posted numerous times where Elon Musk said that they were testing people in his facility, and it was a 50-50 inaccuracy, right? 50% of the swabs were coming back inaccurate. 50% of the tests were coming back false positive. And then even he himself, even more recently, and of course, when he said that back then, he said that, well, that was in relation to perhaps the tests were not very good back then. And then the exact same thing happened to him in the beginning of November, where he took 4 tests, tested positive twice, tested negative twice. The same thing has happened even in, where is it? Even in Major League Sports. And I know the Major League Sports utilize the rapid tests where they have false positive tests coming out. Even the FDA, right? Even the FDA warned of potential for false positive with the rapid test. And even if when you look at what was it? I think it was Pennsylvania was having a high number of false positives. Penn State University dealing with the exact same problem. Right? Penn State has dealt with high numbers of false positive tests. And so it's silly to, when you know that the tests are vulnerable, when you know that your testing is vulnerable, you go back to what you normally do, which is, of course, people who become symptomatic, and then you test people who are symptomatic, or you just treat accordingly, and then you just isolate those individuals. Because it doesn't matter, again, the outcome of the disease is the same. You manage respiratory diseases the same. It doesn't make any sense to worry about asymptomatic. I mean, it was like 80% of people who end up contracting the virus don't have any symptoms, right? So it was up to 80%. Up to 80% of COVID-19 infections are asymptomatic. New case study shows this as a New York Times. What is this? May 24th. So it makes no sense to do it this way, but it is, of course, a sense of control. Of course, these individuals are supposedly trying to look out for people, but realistically speaking, this is how the government intrudes into your life and tries to do what they want to basically take control. Whether you can, how many people you can have in your home, whether you can have dinners in your home, whether you can go to church. Okay to have strip clubs open, but it's not okay to have churches open. You can't serve liquor on specific days. This is the sort of things that you expect to see, like in China. It's stuff you don't expect to see here in America. And this is what happens. The more you put up with it, the more it will happen.